From the Oklahoman newsroom, you're watching an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with OU beat writer Joe Masato. Joe, the Sooners, sounds like they're still in the NCAA tournament. They obviously helped themselves by winning on Saturday at TCU, but even before that, there were a lot of prognosticators out there that were saying Sooners are still in. They had lost, what, 4 in a row, 5 in a row at that point? What's the math and the why behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because unlike some other sports, conference record basically doesn't matter, is what the committee's saying. I mean, Joe Lenardi from ESPN had a really good piece on that. And the OU went 11-1 in the non-conference. They played the 22nd toughest non-conference schedule, and that sort of kept them alive even before they beat TCU on Saturday. So when their conference record was still 3-9, people had them in the tournament. A couple factors go into it. The Pac-12 might be a 1 or 2 bid league. The Big East isn't as good this year. So the bubble is very soft, and teams like OU might be able to sneak in. But OU really did themselves a favor on Saturday by beating TCU.
Well, let's talk about that because TCU is one of those teams that, you know, the conference records might not be weighted more, but when you see two teams that have very similar conference records, and if a team can win both those games against that team, like OU did with the series sweep against TCU, that has to be a positive.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if the Big 12 gets maybe 7 or 8 teams in, and if the committee's deciding between OU and TCU, TCU might have the better overall body of work. OU won both those games in the series, so I think that's huge. I mean, you're looking at an OU team that's 4-9 in the Big 12. 4 of their wins have come against 2 teams.
Yeah. What about that win against TCU? I mean, this is a team, as we said, that OU did beat earlier in the year, but to get off that losing streak, what was important in your mind, Joe, as you think about that game on Saturday?
Well, I mean, basically Christian Doolittle just carried them in that game, and I think he's really, you know, earlier in the season, Christian James looked like their best player. Right now, it looks like Christian Doolittle's the leader of this team. He does quite a bit of everything, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists on Saturday. I mean, really just an all-around game. And we had seen sort of flashes of that even in the losing streak. He had some help around him, but he's really carried them.
Let's look at these final games. Only 5 regular season games coming up. But before we get to that, and before the Sooners get to that, they get an off week. This is their down week where they don't play during the weekdays. They don't play again until the next Saturday. So a week between games. What's this break mean for this team?
Well, I think the biggest thing is Lon Kruger said after the game, it gives Jimani McNeese a week off, and he's not had that for the whole season. You know, it keeps looking like they've pushed him a little bit, like why not give him, 2 or 3 weeks off during this right ankle injury. But now he's got a week off. He played really well on Saturday in very limited minutes, but they liked what he showed. Lon Kruger said he looked as healthy as he's looked since late November. So a week off could really help him.
Mentioned Saturday, they're playing Texas in Norman, and then a quick turnaround after this off week. They got to play 2 games in 3 days as they go to Iowa State on Monday. Then the next Saturday they go to they host West Virginia. You got to think, Joe, they got to at least win 2 of these next 3, right?
Yeah, they've got to, and I mean, if you're getting your pin out trying to circle which games, they've got to win 2 of the next 3, probably 3 out of the last 5 at a minimum to even have a chance. And even if you win 3 out of the last 5, probably need an opening round win in the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. So it's kind of do or die time, and all of these prognostications likely mean nothing if they don't beat Texas on Saturday.
And those final 2 games, by the way, which I hadn't mentioned, were Kansas in Norman and at K-State. A couple teams vying for the Big 12 championship. I mean, it seems like these next 3 could be really the pivotal games for Oklahoma.
Exactly. I mean, and you've got to win in your home court. You've got to win 3 home games. At Kansas State is going to be really tough. At Iowa State it's going to be really tough. You've got to upset a team like Kansas at home to really keep it going.
All right, lots of questions left for the Sooners. As we said, the prognosticators have got the Sooners in, but as Joe said, you about got to win on Saturday at home against Texas. I'm sure the Sooners want to make that happen. We'll see. We'll be leading up to that game, so be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.